We care about the context of everything. We can only get all that context because we have the storage and compute capacity to actually look at all of it at once. And that's really where this Snowflake advantage was born for us.
Hi folks, Daniel Myers, Developer Relations here at Snowflake. And on today's episode of Powered By, I'm talking with Ryan Henrich, Director of Technology Alliances at Lacework. Lacework is a cloud-native security solution covering your entire cloud estate, offering protection from both known and unknown threats. So, Ryan, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
So, I want to kick this off and learn more about you, your background, Lacework, what it does, and what are some of the things that you're working on today?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I'm Ryan Henrich. I've been with Lacework for about 3 years now, and I actually started at some other players in this space, and before that in consulting. And what got me really excited about Lacework was its ability to go and scale with our customers in the cloud and find the things that they didn't know to look for. So we've built a cloud-native security solution that covers use cases from vulnerability management and container and configuration and compliance, container security and intrusion detection, all without our customers needing to go and build and scale a massive rule set across their infrastructure. To me, that was super exciting because what I had seen in my history was that when you require customers to go and build and manage rule sets, it becomes really hard to find the things that are problems in their infrastructure.
So that's pretty awesome. So, my understanding is that Lacework is a relatively young but incredibly fast-paced growth company. Can you tell me more about kind of the history of Lacework and how you're growing today?
Yeah, so I joined about 3 years ago as employee number 30 something, and we're now over 800 people and continuing to grow really fast from there. We built the company, or the company was started about 5 years ago, and operated in stealth for the first few years. And so we really took this to market about 3 years ago, and what we saw with our early customers and continue to see today is that they were able to go and scale their use of the cloud by partnering with Lacework to handle the security with them in a way that they didn't need to grow the security team linearly with it.
Cool, awesome. And so, Lacework being built on Snowflake, that provides some pretty key differentiators between you and others in the industry. Tell me a little bit about how your product is special for your customers today.
Yeah, so this is massively important for us. So, security, especially security in the cloud, is really a big data problem. And so, this is something that we were able to approach differently from anybody else because of the way that we chose to use Snowflake. And so, what we're able to do is we're able to ingest as much data as we want into our instance of Snowflake. And before we make any decisions on it, we're able to organize it first. This is critically important. Many of the other players in the security space are ingesting data and applying kind of manual rules or filters to that data to look for specific things. But because of our usage of Snowflake, we're first able to organize the data and then look at it and see how it's changing over time and really apply more advanced analytics to that data set first.
So that's pretty powerful. So let's see a demo of this.
Yeah, I would love to.
So we spent a bunch of time talking about why we built on Snowflake and the outcomes that have provided for us and why that was so great for us. But at the core of it, the real advantage that we got out of building on Snowflake was the solution that we're able to deliver to our customers. And that's all around treating security as a data problem. And so if we talk a little bit about Lacework itself and what we've actually built here, that was kind of a great introduction about the data problem that we believe in. And security kind of has wallowed in the past and with these rule-based approaches that don't take all the data into account. And so, what we've gone and built here with the help of Snowflake Data Warehouse is this ability to ingest all this data and make sense of it. If we look at this dashboard here that you can see on the screen, we're talking about, at the top left-hand side, the incoming data that we're ingesting from our customers' infrastructure and then everything that we do with it. And so we ingest data from three primary data sources. The first is the cloud accounts of our customers choosing, whether that's AWS, Azure, or GCP. We want to build a read-only cross-account IAM role that gives us access to the config API so that we can know, what is deployed in their cloud and how it's deployed in their cloud. And then also the log source, so whether that's CloudTrail, StackDriver, or Azure Activity Log. And that allows us to know how they're using the infrastructure that they've deployed. Our second data source is the container repository. So, wherever a customer is storing their containers pre-deployment, that allows us to do layer analysis, understand vulnerabilities, and really help our customers make better risk-based decisions as part of their software deployment lifecycle. And then the third is our lightweight agent data collector that allows us to collect and see things like processes and network connections and DNS lookups and user authentication and so on and so forth. And then we stream all of this raw data back into our Lacework backend, which we've built entirely on Snowflake. This represents a massive amount of data. And so before you can actually do anything with that data, we need to first organize it. And so we organize this data into 24 different data tables that our customers can then have access to. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But these data tables are everything about, each type of data. So for example, a process might have, a parent process associated with it. It might have a user associated with it. There might have been a network connection that spawned that process or that process received, so on and so forth. And those all make up columns in one of these data tables. And from these data tables, we build what we call entity behaviors. And to put it simply, an entity behavior is any set of actions from start to finish across the infrastructure. So whether it's something as simple as, I open an SSH connection on a box and go make a cup of coffee and I forget about that session and it times out, that's two pieces of raw data. There's an SSH connection and an SSH timeout. That's it, right? That's a whole behavior. Or maybe it's something a little bit more sophisticated, like, I logged into a box and I kick off a script that builds a Kubernetes cluster and does a whole bunch of data processing and then writes to my data warehouse. That might be 70, 80, 90 pieces, 100 pieces of raw data, but that's one behavior. It's one set of actions from start to finish. And when you start to cut the world as behaviors, it becomes very easy to understand how a customer uses their cloud environment normally and how somebody might abuse it. And so that allows us to really drive these significant security improvements using this change detection mechanism in our customer environment, where we don't care about single points of data. We care about the context of everything. We can only get all that context because we have the storage and compute capacity to actually look at all of it at once. And that's really where this Snowflake advantage was born for us. This allows us to service our customer needs for, the things that everybody needs, the known bads in the world, the, vulnerability assessments for hosts and containers, configuration and compliance reporting for, your CIS benchmarks, your SOC 2s, your HIPAAs, your ISO 27001s, maybe your FedRAMP moderates, etc. It also allows us to do things like, intrusion detection and runtime container security in a way where, a customer doesn't have to build any rules. They don't have to know what to look for. Lacework can find the things that are risky in their environment. And that is all at its core a data problem. And so, rather than just talking about the problem, I'd love to show you a little bit more about Lacework and some of the results that we can drive for our customers. So this is a great example of an alert that Lacework might generate. Now, to be clear, nobody has gone and built a rule here. Nobody has tuned any policies. I didn't know this thing was bad. It didn't appear on any threat feeds, right? We can do all that stuff too, but this is at its core the data problem where, security folks don't have the ability to, write enough rules or policies to catch every single thing that could be bad in an environment. And so this is really where Lacework's value comes in. And so at the top, we can see, hey, why did Lacework build this alert? Well, we've got this application Hydra running on a host in my environment using our Ubuntu service account connected over SSH to another host as root. Now, if we take a step back and, let's assume that I don't know what Hydra is here. What are we actually looking at here? I'm looking at, two machines in my environment using the service account and escalating privilege. That looks a lot to me like, some sort of an automation in my environment. Maybe it's my Chef client coming in and updating packages or something like that. Again, I don't know what this Hydra application is, but, it could be anything. And this doesn't look all that abnormal to me. And so if I scroll down, I've expanded this details column for who. I can see, okay, well, there's root access on both hosts. It's interesting, but, not super consequential to me. I can see then the what here. We've got this, CPU utilization that's really low. So, that gives me some confidence that I'm not looking at like a noisy neighbor problem here right now, right? I'm not worried about the performance of this box at the moment. I'm just really worried about, or curious about at least what this alert means and why Lacework raised its hand. And we can then see, hey, there's a bunch of SSH attempts, but I don't know, that's not super consequential. And then we can actually see this, this Hydra application and a file hash. And this has been, checked against VirusTotal and threat feeds in the industry. And, nobody knows that this thing is bad. This hasn't been flagged as malicious for anybody. So, nothing here for me to get super, nervous or excited about. So again, why did Lacework go and build this alert? I don't really understand yet. Well, if I scroll down to here, I can actually see the behavior that we modeled as anomalous or risky in some way. And so this is part of our patented technology. This is called a polygraph. And in this case, we're looking at a polygraph of a single event. I talked about behaviors earlier, sets of actions from start to finish. This is a great example of that. If we look at the left-hand side, we can see, okay, from Cupertino, California, somebody logged in as Ubuntu, where they kicked off an SSH session and they got a bash shell. If we highlight over that, we can see that, okay, that shell is associated with that user Ubuntu. We can then see they ran sudo su to escalate privilege, where we get a new bash session, obviously, this time associated with root. Then we can see this dash Hydra spawning 4 daughter Hydra processes and 292 SSH attempts. To be super clear, to the left of the imaginary line I'm drawing right here, right now, This is all very normal in my environment. This is stuff we see all the time. This is my service account logging in and running sudo apt-get update, updating packages, right? This is maybe one of my SREs logging in and restarting a service, right? Using the service account. Maybe they shouldn't be doing that, but they are. And so this is very normal in an environment here. And so, Lacework didn't flag the left-hand side of this at all. It said, yeah, we see this all the time. But the behavior changed to the right of this. And this is where we see that real, that security incident or concern happen. And this is why we raised our hand. We saw this dash Hydra spawn 4 Hydra daughter processes and 292 SSH attempts. And if I scroll down further here, we can load up more data, including this raw process details, where I can actually see, the command line syntax that kicked off the event that triggered this alert. And so if we go and sort by command here and expand this, I can see, okay, Hydra L, username's text, tell me password is top 500 IP SSH. At this point, it's probably pretty clear to anybody that, Hydra is not some, docile package updater here. I'm a little bit nervous about, what I'm seeing here. And so I want to go deeper and explore more. Now, everything you see in blue here is a hyperlink that'll show us more data related to this. So, if I click on Ubuntu here, I can load up a page where I can see everything that this user authentication session did. If I click on Hydra, I could get a list of, hey, does this application live anywhere else in my environment, right? Is this normal for me? Is this a problem that's kind of propagated throughout the world that I need to go and take care of? And so this is really at its core a data problem. And this is, I think, a great example to talk about that with, because, if we look back here at this polygraph and we talk about, hey, how would a conventional rules-based approach catch this? Well, with a rule-based approach, you want to be as precise as possible. So ideally, we're going to start on the right-hand side of this alert. So we're going to say, hey, look, if I make a rule that says if Hydra alert or if Hydra kill, like whatever I want to do, right? Great, I've solved for this case. But what if somebody renamed Hydra, Bob? Suddenly my alert doesn't work, right? My rule doesn't work anymore because it's looking for an application or a process name. And I can go and change those. If anybody's familiar with Hydra, that, in the real world, if I were deploying Hydra to go brute force a bunch of accounts, I'm certainly not going to call it Hydra because everybody's aware of that. So, okay, so that alert doesn't work, so that rule wouldn't work for me. So maybe I go a little bit left earlier in the chain and I go, okay, well, if I write a rule for every time somebody escalates privilege, I'll catch somebody spawning a new malicious application like this. Absolutely, you will. But you'll also catch a whole bunch of people doing their job all day, every day. And so that becomes kind of at its core, an operational problem. Well, now I've got thousands of alerts a day. I can't get through them. That won't work for me. So, okay, so let's keep marching down this path. Let's say I want to build a rule for privilege escalation. Well, I'm going to go build a suppression for, known activity. I know that we use the service account to go and update packages. I know that we use the service account to go restart services. And so I'm going to build, hey, if privilege escalation, but not the Ubuntu user alert. Well, now suddenly I've just built a blind spot here. I'm now not going to see this alert or this event ever, right? Because I'm saying, if it's privilege escalation, but it's not the service account, then alert me. And that really becomes kind of at its core the core problem with a rules-based approach and why this is so differentiated in the market and why Snowflake has been so instrumental in us being able to do this, because we look at all of the context for every bit of data that we gather. And that allows us to drive these outcomes without anybody going to have to build rules and tune it and so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to briefly flash up here our data share views. This is, really important as a way to understand the tables that we can expose to our customers. And so in order to drive those alerts that we talked about, and I'm going to show some more use cases in a minute, but in order to drive those alerts, we build these 24 different data tables. And, these are, for example, everything that we know about a process, so whether it's a parent process and username and the ID of that user, or the file path process generated out of so on and so forth. This is everything that we know about that. We make these data tables available to our customers in their Snowflake infrastructure as well, so that they can go and drive additional use cases off of it, right? We've got our core platform, all the use cases that we drive, all the security solution that we provide to our customers. But if they want to go and join this data with, conventional BI data, maybe they want to join it with Workday data or something like that, this is made available to them. And so that's kind of, a big part of the core of the platform as well, is it's our customers' data. We want them to have access to it and build on top of it and use it. But I talked before about the polygraph, and I know this is a bit of an eye chart here. I'll make it better in a second, I promise. But the polygraph isn't just looking at individual behaviors, right? Like we showed before on that Hydra event. The polygraph is looking at everything that happens in a customer's environment all the time, every hour of every day, the whole time that they're using Lacework. And so this gives us the ability to understand exactly how an infrastructure is actually communicating. And so in this case, I'm showing an application-centric view of the world. But if you wanted to show container-to-container view or machine-to-machine view or process-to-process view, you can look at it that way. I happen to like the application view. And so if I go and search, Nginx here, I can see exactly the behavior flow of Nginx in my environment. Maybe I want to go and see, hey, show me all the applications that actually accept external traffic and where that traffic flows downstream. I can go and do that, right? Maybe I want to look at, hey, are people SSHing onto machines, and what applications are being spawned through those sessions? Again, I can go and do that. And this just gives me the ability to truly understand and see how my infrastructure is actually being used while it's deployed. Now, you never have to go and look at this. This is the beauty of Lacework. But this polygraph enables our ability to go and find those events that don't fit the normal behavior of the environment that have security consequence to them. And we do the same thing, whether it's your workload data from your EC2 instances or your containers or your Kubernetes clusters. We also do it for your AWS infrastructure. So in this case, I've filtered on a single account for this polygraph where I can see, where they logged in from and how they logged in and what account they logged into, and then the region and the service and the API call and the result of that. But if I delete this filter that I've got right here, I can show you how all of our AWS infrastructure communicates with it. Right? We've got 6 different accounts, a bunch of users and roles, and a whole bunch of services being used. And maybe I can see, I want to know who's getting the denied API response and what they're trying to do. And so I can, again, go and filter on that and get a very clear view of the world. It makes it really easy for me to see that, hey, we're getting read access denies on ECR, KMS, and S3 for these user accounts. And so, obviously it gives me the ability to go and dig deeper and kind of understand what's going on there. Outside of the core of the platform, the anomaly detection that we do, a lot of our customers also use us for some conventional security, requirements around, compliance reporting for the cloud, right? Maybe I've got, AWS, Azure, and GCP, and I'm beholden to SOC 2 across all that infrastructure. So, first I want to make sure that I'm meeting the CIS benchmarks, and wherever I'm not meeting it, I can quickly go and see, what resources in violation. But, if I want to look at this from the lens of a SOC 2 report, I can go and create that filter for any account, whether it's an AWS, Azure, or GCP, and look exactly into, where I'm meeting, where I'm missing that compliance framework. Similarly, we do vulnerability assessments and help our customers truly understand the risk of their vulnerabilities, whether it's on hosts as we're showing here or containers as I'm showing here. And so I can help our customers see, hey, is this thing fixable? Is the container that the vulnerability running in privileged? What's the severity by CVSS score? Is it externally facing? So on and so forth. And so this really helps our customers, using that polygraph, prioritize where they're going to go and spend their time fixing these vulnerabilities. Look, as we know, there is no such thing as a zero vulnerability environment. We can't get there. So we need to go and expend our effort in the places where there is the highest risk. And so that's really what Lacework is driving towards here, by our ability to see, not only what vulnerabilities live on the machine, but what the machine actually does, if there's a process associated with that vulnerability, if it's externally facing, if it's receiving network connections, so on and so forth. That helps you prioritize exactly where to go and what to attack first. We talked a bunch about Lacework here. We talked a bunch about, our partnership with Snowflake, and we're super excited about the future and all the things that we're going to continue to build. But, we love seeing customers get value out of this, and we love seeing customers share that data into their instance of Snowflake and build, reporting capabilities on top of it. We've got all sorts of things that we can show you, and we'd be happy to show any customer, on a call.
That's really powerful. And being able to visualize that type of information brings a whole new level of kind of insight to these threats. So you mentioned, right, discovering both known threats and unknown threats. It's really cool to see kind of how you walk through being able to find and evaluate, potentially unknown threats by the methods that you just showed. So in order to do that, it seems like you would have to have an immense amount of data.
And we do, yeah. So, for across all of our customers, we have more than 60 petabytes inside of Snowflake at this point, right? We're operating at massive scale inside of Snowflake. And we're acting on all of that data all the time, right? So I'm ingesting everything that's going on for all of my customers every hour of every day. And I'm understanding all of their behaviors every hour of every day, 24/7, right? This thing doesn't turn off. We need a massive amount of data in order to do that. And what's really important is that, before we make any decisions, as I've said, we organize that data. And then what's really cool to me is that we actually provide that organized data, that view into a customer's entire estate. We provide that organized data as tables back to our customer to run in their to move into their instance of Snowflake if they want to. And so this is really important for all sorts of use cases, whether it's just something as simple as long-term data retention. I mean, with the storage costs inside of Snowflake and the compression algorithms, I mean, this is an incredibly inexpensive way for us to allow our customers to store their data forever. And then once it's in there, if they want to ask more questions of that data, that gets really powerful as well. So, right, we've built a security solution here that's designed around finding known and unknown threats. But maybe they want to look for specific things. So maybe it's not a security use case necessarily, but hey, I want to track all of the applications that have ever been deployed across my infrastructure because that's important for me from a SOC 2 reporting perspective. That's awesome. I have the data and I can share it back into your instance of Snowflake. You can build a dashboard in your BI tool of choice. Or maybe you want to go and have a global view into, hey, I've got 1,000 AWS accounts and 500 Azure accounts and 700 GCP accounts. And I want like a single pane of glass that shows me how I'm trending over time as it relates to the CIS benchmarks. All of that data is in Lacework. And all of those reports are in Lacework. We're talking about 1,800 accounts. My CTO doesn't want to go and look at 1,800 reports every day. We want a single place where we can go, hey, is the trend our friend or is it a problem today?
Right. So looking at that and that entire kind of scenario that you just painted there, it seems like Snowflake is a great fit, right? Being able to do that. How did you and Lacework as a whole really evaluate and land on Snowflake as that key part of your tech stack?
And so that was a really big decision that we had to make very early on in our journey, right? So one of the hardest things for us would have been picking the wrong data warehousing partner, building our solution on it, finding out that it couldn't meet our customer scale, and having to pivot from there, right? There's two choices that we make at that point. Either we start killing data at the ingest side in order to save what's left of our solution, or we have to migrate, and that's obviously incredibly expensive. And so before I joined the company, but when we were still in stealth, we went out and we talked to a couple of our earliest partners and customers and found one that was operating an edge service. And because of the way that we collect data and because the data that we collect is we care a lot about network connections. We care a lot about DNS lookups and things like that. And then we care a lot about the processes that spawn. And so somebody operating an edge service is going to generate a ton of network data. And so we worked with them and what we decided was and what we learned was that if we could build a proof of concept on a data warehouse that could handle their scale, it could handle the scale of any of the other customers that we would want to work with. And so we went and tried a bunch of the other commercial solutions in the market. We tried a few of the open source solutions. And what we found is that nobody else could meet our scale. And Snowflake's ability to both scale vertically and horizontally the workload allowed us to actually go and meet our customer where they were. And this allowed us to go and do this every hour of every day. If we had used a different solution, we would have had to, filter that data or done our machine learning less often, because we would have had to truncate the data at some point. And so that was really valuable to us, obviously.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned, right, being able to have that kind of single pane of glass, single source of truth, right, which is a core component of what Snowflake can provide, right? And so what core features of Snowflake are you using today as part of Lacework, right? It seems like the zero copy cloning would be a big player for you and to the success of Lacework.
Absolutely, right? So, our ability to meet our customers where they are and share the data back to them using zero copy cloning or data sharing so that they can then go and leverage that data to provide for other use cases or build BI dashboards and look at the data in different ways, that's super important to us. Time travel is also super important to us. But something else that I think is really important to touch on is, when we went and built this service, we built for a multi-cloud world. And Snowflake's ability to support us, whether we're in AWS, Azure, or GCP, was also critical for us as well, right? We care about our customers, whether they're in AWS, Azure, or GCP as well. And so we couldn't lock ourselves into a single cloud. And so by picking a data warehousing partner that was focused on building a solution that could work where you wanted it to work, and being a security service that's trying to do the same, that can meet our customers where they're deployed, that was really important to us as well.
So that's awesome. So Ryan, tell me more about what your personal goals are and really where you see Lacework going over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. So look, we've talked about the growth that Lacework is experiencing from an employee count, right? 30 to 800 plus and growing more over the last 3 years. And a big part of that for us is investing in product and engineering, obviously. So we're continuing to grow our use cases from a security perspective, delivering more value to our customers across, up and down their stack, whether it's, moving more into the shift left so that we can help with the SDLC, helping identify security vulnerabilities earlier on, or maybe it's about, more custom reporting and things like that on the data. But what I think is really important and what matters a lot to me is that for every new set of use cases that we bring to the platform for our customers, that drives more data in our platform, and it also creates either a new table or additional data into existing tables that we can share back into our customers' instance of Snowflake. So everything that we're going and building here becomes more data that our customers can leverage. And what I hope to see is that more and more of our joint customers are actually taking advantage of this data. It's super valuable. You can go and build whatever you want with it. And we've got a bunch of open source dashboards that you can at least get started with. So if you've got things that you want to do with the data that don't exist yet inside of whether it's Lacework or whatever else, we'd love to meet, talk about it, because as long as we have the data, we can build.
Moving forward from now, right, for our viewers here today, where should they go if they want to learn more about Lacework?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have a website like everybody else, lacework.com. That's a great place to go and kind of do your initial reading about Lacework, read some white papers about the Lacework and Snowflake partnership and what the data is and what the data provides. And then we also have an email address, info@lacework.com, where you can reach out to us. And we're more than happy to hop on a call or meet you guys in person, wherever you may be, for 30 minutes to an hour to kind of go through, not only what Lacework provides, but what we're able to do with our partners such as Snowflake.
Fantastic. And for everybody there watching now, if you want to build your own application and your business on Snowflake, check out developers.snowflake.com. Thanks.